Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Hope you're doing good. So today we are going to look at the smallest contiguous subarray with greater sum problem. So let's get started. So let's go over the problem statement together. You're asked to find the length of smallest contiguous subarray with a sum that is greater than or equal to the given sum, which is 7 in our case. So there are many ways to approach this problem. One is the brute force approach, which we are not going to use, and the other is the sliding window approach, which we are going to use. And I've already gone over the sliding window concept in detail, and I'm going to link the video somewhere here. So please go over it before solving this problem. And please note that you're given a set of positive integers. If your array contains negative integers, then there will be some minute differences in the approach that you take using sliding window. I'm going to have a variable called minimum length, and this is going to keep track of the length of the contiguous subarray. So I'm going to initialize it to a maximum value, and I'm going to have a variable called sum, which is going to be initialized to 0, and this is to keep track of the sum of the array elements. I'm going to have two variables, window start and window end. So window start is going to keep track of the starting element of our window, and window end is going to iterate over the array. Okay, so for every iteration we are going to calculate the sum, and then whenever the sum reaches the target sum, that is it is greater than or equal to 7, which means we found one subarray. So whenever this happens, we are going to update the minimum length, and then we are going to shrink our window. Okay, so this is what we are going to do. So in the first iteration, what happens is sum is going to be 0 plus the value of window end, which is 2, and it's going to give us the value 2. Okay, 2 is now greater than or equal to 7, so we can continue with our iteration, and window end is pointing to the next element now. And now what we are going to do is sum is going to be 2 plus 1, which is 3. It's not greater than or equal to 7, so continue with the iteration, and window end is moved to the next element. Now the sum is going to be 3 plus 5, which is 8, and 8 is greater than or equal to 7, that is 8 is greater than 7. So it's time to update our minimum length, because we found one subarray which matches our condition. So minimum length is going to be the number of elements in a window, which is from window start to window end. There are 3 elements, right? So it's going to be 3. Okay, now what you're going to do, you're going to shrink the window. So what happens is sum is going to be 8 minus the value of window start, which is 2 in our case, and we are going to move our window start to point to the next element. Okay, so window start would be pointing to the next element. Now 8 minus 2, which is 6, is not greater than or equal to 7, so we can continue with our iteration. So window end would be moving to the next element. So sum is going to be 6 plus 2, which is 8. Now it is greater than or equal to 7, right? So it's time to update our minimum length, because we found one more subarray which matches our condition. So the minimum length should be updated now. As you can see, the number of elements in this new subarray is 3, right? From window start to window end, there are 3 elements. So we already found that the minimum length is 3, so it's not going to be updated. It's going to be 3 again. And now we have to shrink our window, right? So in order to shrink our window, what we are going to do is we are going to subtract the first element. So sum is going to be the starting element of the window, so we are going to subtract it. So sum is going to be 8 minus window start is 1, so 8 minus 1, which is going to give us the value 7, and then we are going to move our window start to the next element. Okay, and as you can see, 7 is greater than or equal to 7, that is it is equal to 7, and it matches a condition. So it means we found another subarray, so we are going to update the minimum length. Okay, so minimum length is going to be the number of elements in a window which is from window start up to window end. There are two elements, so minimum length will be updated to 2. Okay, and then we need to shrink our window, right? So for that, what I'm going to do is sum is going to be 7 minus the value of window start. So the value of window start is 5, right? So 7 minus 5, and it's going to be 2, right? And then we are going to move our window start to point to the next element. So window start is going to point to the third index of our array. Okay, and now the value sum is not greater than or equal to 7. So we are going to continue with the iteration. So what happens is window end is going to point to the next element of the array. So sum is going to have the value 2 plus 3, which is the value of window end, and it's going to give us the value 5. Okay, right? And then 5 is not greater than or equal to 7, so we are going to continue with our iteration. So now window end will be pointing to 2, and then so let's see what the sum is. So sum is going to be 5 plus the value of window end, which is going to be 2. It is 7. Now the sum is equal to 7, which is our target condition. So it's time to update our minimum length, and minimum length is going to be the number of elements in this subarray, which is from window start to window end. There are 3 elements, but we already found the minimum length as 2, and it's going to remain 2, right? So next we are not going to move on with the iterations, because we have already reached the maximum length of our array, and once the window is shrunk, it will stop the iteration. Okay, so let's get into the coding part. You're given a sum which is 7, and you're given a set of positive integers, and let's see how we could code this. So as mentioned before, I'm going to have a variable called minimum length, and I'm going to initialize to the maximum value of the integer. And I'm going to have a variable called sum. There's already a variable called sum, so I'm going to give it a new name. So let it be and the sum calculated is going to be initialized to 0, and there's going to be 2 more variables, which is window start and window end. So window start is going to point to the first element, and I'm going to have a for loop with window end, and window end should be lesser than array's length, and so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep calculating the sum, right? So sum calculated is going to be array of window end, right? Whenever the sum is greater than or equal to the given sum, then you're going to update the minimum length, and you're going to shrink the window, right? So what you're going to do is, until the calculated sum is greater than or equal to the given sum, which is 7 in our case, what you're going to do is you're going to update the minimum length minimum length and the window size. So window size can be calculated as window end minus window start plus 1, because we are starting from 0, so that's why. And then the next thing that you would do is shrink the window, right? So for that, what you would be doing is, from the sum calculated, you're going to subtract the value of window start, right? And then you're going to point the window start to the next element. Now you're going to return the minimum length. So in order to return the minimum length, if minimum length is equal to the maximum value that we declared initialized it with, that means that we never found a subarray whose sum is greater than or equal to the given sum, right? So in that case, what we'll do is we'll return a value 0. Otherwise, we are going to return the minimum length that we found. Okay. So the time complexity is going to be big O of n, because we just have one for loop and that iterates over the array, and the space complexity is going to be constant, which is big O of 1. Thanks for watching. Hope that was useful. We'll try to solve more problems under sliding window coding pattern before we move on to the next coding pattern. So please keep watching my videos, and please subscribe to my channel. See you soon. Thank you. Bye.